Hi, this is Patty Hodge at Dr. Nurses Rock. And today I would like you to meet a woman I've known for a number of years now and who I love and admire and respect. Her name is Ingrid DeHart. She has a website that is called Eat Well, Enjoy Life. And she has an amazing story of transformation that I want her to share with you today. Ingrid started life as a anorexic teenager
Well, I
and
started life before that.
started this journey of
I started this
food.
journey as an anorexic teenager, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Um, and has been a successful blogger and has this wonderful array of recipes and wisdom on her website. So welcome to Ingrid.
Hi, Patty. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm glad.
Um, yeah, I started out, this journey about with of healing and finding natural foods and all of that around when I was 12. I was anorexic and in those days, people really didn't even know what that was. My mother had no idea, so I was completely on my own about it. And it was a struggle. But fortunately, it wasn't so bad that I was like hospitalized or anything like that.
Well, just for the sake of people who, I mean, they may have heard the word anorexia, but they may not really know the full extent of what that entails. So,
Well,
yeah,
go
anorexia
ahead.
is a mental health disorder, basically, where you're afraid of gaining weight. There's an intense fear of gaining weight, an irrational fear of gaining.
Right,
And it can be life-threatening because people stop eating or
right.
purge or do things. So tell us about your experience with that.
Okay, well, in those days, I was just afraid of being fat. And I don't want to go into I've done so much work on that and so much understanding of that. I'll explain that as we go along.
Sure.
So, but I had a hard time eating like a normal person. Mostly I just ate dinner and just like a little bit of like meat for dinner. So I ate very little. And then I went to college and I was pretty much the same, just ate a little bit of dinner, didn't really eat much. And at 21, I got married and my husband and I, oh no, before that, I'm sorry, before that, when I was like 15, I went to camp and somebody told me about eating natural foods. And if you eat natural foods, you're not going to get fat. And I said, oh my goodness, a miracle. I can actually eat food and I won't be fat. So I embraced the idea of eating, like fruits and vegetables and grains and I still ate meat, but I embraced the idea of eating a very healthy diet, and so that really helped me a lot. And I loved eating natural food so much that at the age of 21 my husband and I decided to open up a natural foods restaurant in Manhattan. And we opened that up and it was great. And my husband eats like a normal person, and it was really a great like thing for me to witness, because we worked in the restaurants together all the time, so we were together 24 hours a day. And I could see how he ate. Mostly I still just ate dinner, but it was a really good example of me of how to eat like a normal person. And
Can I just ask a question? What is a normal person? What does a normal person eat like? Because I think everybody in this country has some issue around food, one way or the other, right? Because we have this whole epidemic, really, of obesity. So we eat too much, we eat too little, we eat the wrong thing, we eat packaged food. What does a normal person look like when they're eating?
that's a really great question. To me, what I saw from him was that he would not stress about food. And we had a natural foods restaurant, so everything we ate was, natural ingredients and no preservatives or anything like that. And, there would be days when he would like he just didn't stress about eating. He would eat when he was hungry and not eat when he wasn't hungry. And some days he would eat a whole container of ice cream and then the next day, he just didn't eat anything until, later in the day because he was full. And so it wasn't a big deal. He didn't beat himself up. It was just like, just, nothing. It was just like a nothing thing.
But there was no
And
emotional distress around eating.
none, none.
Doesn't that
That's
sound
what eating
wonderful?
like a normal person is. There's no emotional distress in eating.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So okay, keep going. You open this restaurant.
Okay, so we had our restaurant, and then everything evolved, and then we wound up selling the restaurant when we had a child, and we moved to Woodstock, and we opened up another business, which was a t-shirt store for teenagers in malls, and so we did that for 20 years, and I was still mostly just eating dinner. I ate a little better, I would eat during the day a little bit. But I was less concerned about it. And then at a certain point, our whole life like collapsed, and my husband and I got divorced. We lost our business because the corporations were coming in, et cetera, to the malls, and so lost the house, lost the husband, and lost most of my money.
Mm.
So that was, like the trifecta. So it was really, really harsh for me. And I've always been a spiritual person, and I've always believed in the law of attraction. And I actually had the advantage when I was a teenager to go and see Jane Roberts, who wrote the Seth books about the law of attraction. And I saw her many times. And so, I have an early background in that. And so when that happened to me, I realized, okay, this is not happening to me for no reason. And even though it's so intense and I'm so upset, I I choose to find the gift. And because I knew there was one, because I believe that the universe is on my side and things are always working out for me. And so if this is happening to me, clearly I'm being guided someplace. So that was, my overall pattern, even though I was really upset, like really upset.
It's really a wonderful attitude, even though, and you're saying, even though you're experiencing this huge emotional upheaval about this, you still had this confidence that things were working in your favor.
Right. So I was looking, how do I find my way through this?
Okay.
And that's when I discovered tapping. Um, that was when this was, like 18 years ago, they started the Tapping World Summit. Might have been the first or the second year. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I
Yes.
started tapping, and it was like I could feel the relief. And it was so good for me that I became certified and became an EFT practitioner. And then as I went through all the tapping, I was able to clear a lot of those negative feelings that I had towards myself that caused me to be anorexic and caused me to have so much discomfort in my body. And so I say that tapping saved my life.
Wow.
Because if it wasn't for the tapping, I don't know if I could have gotten out of bed. And and so, with all of the emotional upheaval, I wasn't, I had a lot of physical symptoms. And, so then, and I was definitely eating better. But then I decided I became gluten free. And given my symptoms, I went on a paleo diet, and I, did that for quite a long time. And that was when I started my blog because, I love food. Food is my passion, back from the restaurant days. We did the restaurant for 14 years, and I love food. So that was when I started my blog. And so, it's a gluten-free blog. And for a long time, it was just paleo. Now I call it paleo friendly. And but what I really discovered, and this is like one of the key things, is like I was eating like almost a perfect diet, meaning like, no sugar, no wine, no coffee, no cheese, like, all the things that, one would consider to be more inflammatory. And I still didn't feel good. I still had symptoms. I'm going, okay, there's got to be more to this. And that was when I realized that our emotions and our beliefs and the things that we tell ourselves are equal of equal importance to what we eat and you know, like, eating and sleeping and exercise are, those are the outer foundations to being healthy and taking care of yourself. And I was doing all of that and I still didn't feel good. So I'm going, okay, there's got to be something going on.
Yes.
And so, so since then, I've been on a journey to understand the mind-body connection. And besides all the delicious recipes that I include in my blog, I also include, and in my newsletter and on my blog, some tools, mind body tools to help people to change the dialogue that they're telling themselves.
That's really so key and so important. And really, you're an innovator. Excuse me. And your website, your blog is gorgeous. I mean, I'm looking at it now. I'm scrolling through some of these beautiful pictures of food, and some of my friends really describe themselves as foodies, and I just want them to know this is the place to go. Take a look at this blog and see what's going on. The thing that you mentioned that sticks in my mind right at this moment is the inflammatory piece.
Right.
Because science, obviously, doctors are coming to the idea, knowing that inflammation is really the cause of a lot of distress and illness, the beginnings of illness. So, what have you learned about inflammation in,
Well, the thing about inflammation is that, if you eat too much sugar and drink too much coffee and have too much wine, or any alcohol. And, there's certain foods that tend to be inflammatory. So if you want to keep the inflammation down, it's good to eat an anti-inflammatory diet, which is pretty much the Mediterranean diet,
yes,
with lots of vegetables. Vegetables has to be like when you think about a plate, that every meal should be two-thirds vegetables, two-thirds vegetables, and then, you know, um, one-sixth protein, and then one-sixth carbohydrates. And so you can choose whatever ones you like, but the vegetables contain all of the vitamins, the minerals, the anti-nutrients that are there to allow you to digest well and to get the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, macronutrients that your organs need in order to function optimally.
I think that's very helpful to know. It's very helpful for people to explore that and understand, especially if they're struggling with pre-diabetes or other uh, blood pressure issues or something that might be helped if they really took some changes to heart.
Right. And another thing that's really important, for anybody who wants to, be healthy, or if they're struggling with any physical issues, is exercise.
Yes.
Um, because movement is one of the key things that will keep inflammation down. And you don't have to do it, you don't have to like, run a mile or anything like that. Just simply walking outside, even if it's cold, and if you can walk, for like I like to walk for an hour every day. But even if you walk for 15 minutes, it's still good. And then when you walk, to not be there, some people like to walk with music in their earphones. And and that's okay if that works for you. But I find that when you walk, if you're actually in your body, present with your body, your breath, that, how your body feels, and paying attention to what you're seeing. It doesn't matter if you're in the country or in the city, but just like noticing, like just being present, that presence actually calms your nervous system. And when you calm your nervous system, that's when you live in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and restore system. And that's where health and healing occur naturally.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I am going to put a brief video out on exercise because it is something that when people hear that word, for some people, it's like, oh, it causes anxiety. But if we
Right.
could just understand that just some simple movement is better than nothing, and especially if you're depressed or if you're having some anxiety and you don't leave the house often, or you find yourself that you're just flipping channels on the television, just getting up and doing something.
Go out for a walk, you know. It's
And
always available anywhere, anytime you can go for a walk.
absolutely. And, if you have a pet, take them with you. If they're,
Yeah,
creatures that walk on a leash, that would be a great thing. Uh,
yeah,
it is so imperative to be present. And I see it so often with so many different mental health conditions or issues where people's minds are going 110 miles an hour in all kinds of directions, and they forget that they came here to live in a body and to have that body help them accomplish what it is they're here to do.
right.
So being present means, recognizing, okay, what's going on in my body? How am I feeling? Is there an ache? Is this a nice sensation? Even listening to music and dancing a little bit in your living room is exercise.
Absolutely, and so much fun.
It is so much fun.
There's
And
there's a there's a I have a blog post on my blog. It's called Intuitive Dancing that shows you just turn on the music and get out there and do it, whatever you feel like. And I explain a little bit about it.
yes, I think that if people could feel free enough to do that. And the other crucial thing you were talking about, I think, is self-talk. Um, if people
Before we
will,
get to that, I want to just talk about living in the parasympathetic nervous system
please, let's do that.
because, like, that is the focus of mind-body healing.
Yes,
Mind-body healing is to eat the foods and do the exercise and sleep well, like trying to sleep well so that you remain in the parasympathetic nervous system because we're designed to live there. The sympathetic nervous system, the fight flight system, is designed to live in short periods of time at moments of stress. Like if you step out, if you see a car coming, you jump back. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. You don't have to do anything, it's doing it for you. But you're not meant to live in a state of stress all the time because that causes digestive issues, it causes inflammation all over your body and, many health issues. So, that is my goal all the time. It's like I want to eat to stay in the parasympathetic nervous system. I want to exercise and I want to have the thoughts that allow me to stay there.
perfect.
And I have one more thing I want to say before we go on, because that's why we can talk about that, is that if you're out for a walk, you say, well, you tell me to walk, but when I go outside, my knee hurts when I'm walking.
Yes.
So what do I do when my knee is hurting, right? And that's like a really good question, or my shoulder hurts, or, and so, the thing that I recommend is, do a little bit to not to the point of pain, just a little bit to the point where you feel like you're moving a little bit, moving along. But when you're walking, to notice how you're feeling about your knee hurting. Because if you're there saying, oh man, I hate my knee hurting. I hate my body for my knee hurting. And you're really, that you're bringing a lot of negative energy to that. That is like resisting what is. But if you instead say, oh, my knee is hurting and I can, I don't like this and I don't want this, but I'm willing to accept it is what it is. And just in the accept, it's like, okay, I'm not going to fight with it because it's a losing battle. It is what it is. And that immediately is like, oh, it is what it is. And at that point, you can just say, okay, I allow myself to be imperfect. I allow myself to have this pain. And instead of hating it and hating myself and feeling like scared or upset or anything like that, to just like say, okay, I'm just going to allow this to be, and I give my body, as much love and kindness as I can in this moment. And that in itself will help soothe all the inflammation that's going on in your body as a result of your knee hurting. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense, 100%. If we could just understand and practice that each day, a little bit of practice every day, and then all of a sudden you're doing it without thinking about it.
Sure, because you build neural pathways
Right.
when you practice being kind to yourself, whether it be kind to yourself physically or emotionally, you you
Kindness,
you learn to be kinder to
that's
yourself.
it. Kindness is good for your health.
Yes,
I did do a brief video on that when I was learning to use the technology of things. And there my all my videos have some kind of glitch or mistake in them, and that I just leave it in because that's who I am. And
exactly. You allow
yeah,
yourself to be imperfect.
there's no one perfect here on this earth. And what we do with that idea of being uh, kind to ourselves, if you love someone, you love a little child, I think you go out of your way to be gentle with that child. And when we grow up and we're adults and we're beating ourselves up, we're being bullies to ourselves.
For
And
sure.
if we just loved ourselves the way we would love an innocent person in the world, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to be imperfect. We're going to, maybe possibly hurt someone or someone else at some point in our lives. And, we need to learn to forgive ourselves, to forgive other people. And that whole kindness piece just, it carries us to such a different place.
Absolutely. And also, it's one of the things that I believe it's like one of the number one things for mind body healing, because when you actually decide, okay, I am going to notice the constant chatter that we all have in our mind, I'm going to notice what I'm telling myself. And when you do that, you realize there's so much negative chatter that you're telling yourself, judgments of yourself, judgment of others, all of this negative stuff. And so the first step is, oh, I notice this, right? And then instead of like adding, fuel to the fire, oh man, I'm being so judgmental. Oh man, I'm being so negative. And like then getting down on yourself for doing that, you say, are you just going to hold yourself with kindness to your own process? You know, that it's a natural thing of, it's a very natural thing. And just the intention of bringing kindness to yourself is is what's going to get you there. You notice, oh man, I just told myself that I was blah blah blah,
Right.
and then say, oh, well, I'm sorry. And just to go, oh, honey, it's okay that
It,
you feel like that.
exactly
It's
that.
okay that you have those thoughts, as opposed to, no, you cannot have those thoughts, which definitely does not help.
That's right.
And that is such a big, big piece when you can start doing that. Um, and the more you practice it, the easier it becomes.
Yes, you've just infused us with tremendous wisdom today. I'm looking at the time and I don't want to go over because I want people to be able to watch this and be
Sure.
stay along with us to the very end. So what I'm going to ask is if you'll come back because I love talking to you.
Sure.
And people may have questions and respond to all the things that you've said today. I will always put links to your blog and to things about anorexia and to things about inflammation, maybe in the description. And this was such a really fascinating and uplifting time for me this morning. So I'm so
Thank you.
grateful to you. And
Thank you.
I wish you all the best of everything always. And let's stay connected.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Patty.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye-bye.